Hi, my name is Adina, and I am a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist from the United States. So alongside my career in fashion, I've always been doing community outreach and volunteering work in and around Chicago. Always been my passion. Finally, since moving and living abroad, I'm able to combine those two, my love for working in corporate spaces and my love for diversity and equity and inclusion. So, as a Black woman living in Germany and now Sweden, it became crystal clear to me that the work that I was doing to push for equity in communities were the exact same things that were needed in work communities for employees to really feel a sense of belonging. And now I'm working in that space full time to push for those opportunities for inclusion. So, how to value the diversity that already exists in your teams. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But specifically, we're going to be talking about employee resource groups. So, how do you create an equitable community where diversity is valued? So, oftentimes when we're talking about increasing diversity, the first thing that comes up is talent acquisition team and recruiting. However, I would like to talk about today how you can leverage the diversity that already exists within your team. And that is through creating employee resource groups and giving space for them to form and also thrive. So you're probably wondering, what the heck is an employee resource group? So, employee resource groups are voluntary, employee-led resource groups that help to foster diverse, inclusive workplaces. These groups focus on a variety of dimensions of diversity, such as lived experiences, common ethnicity background, demographics, such as gender or sexual orientation. These groups exist to support people in their personal and career development, but also to create safe spaces where employees can bring their whole selves. Allies are oftentimes invited to these spaces to support and drive these colleagues' initiatives. So, why do we need employee resource groups? The groups exist to support in personal and career development. They create a safe space for these employees to bring their whole selves. They drive innovation. ERGs help marginalized groups have a safe place where the conversations flow freely around the things that they need to be more included in the working environment. They build strong teams. Discussions that center the needs of the most marginalized in your organization, particularly in countries like Sweden where you can't talk about ethnicity, are able to give you the opportunity to hear directly from those employees what they need to be successful. So, what or why do you need employee resource groups? So, employee resource groups create safe spaces where employees can be their whole selves. They drive innovation, and they also give people who are working remotely a sense of community. And they build strong teams. Allies are so important to mention when we're talking about employee resource groups because, as it's stated in Forbes, allyship is a lifelong process for building relationships based on trust, consistency, and accountability with marginalized individuals and/or groups at the center of that. So, what types of ERGs or employee resource groups could you form? One type is a group that centers around LGBTQI+, creating fair work practices and advocating a common language in how we speak about LGBTQI issues. Another one is interfaith, and this works to spread awareness around celebrating holidays and all of the different religions within your organization. Caregivers and family, age and veterans are another example. Groups based on race, such as African American, Indigenous or Native American, Latino are some examples. One similarity to note between all of these ERGs is that they should all strive for inclusivity and fair practices, And they should create safe places for members to express ideas and be their full, authentic selves. How to start? How do you start an ERG? The first thing you should do is define your group's goals and missions. Maybe you come up with pillars, and these pillars should also be in line with your organization's pillars. Recruit members. Find people who are interested, have common lived experience as you, to start the grassroots building of this employee resource group. Schedule meeting and plan events. Through your meetings, you're able to find out what all of the members of your ERG need to be successful and to have visibility within the organization. It's a great idea to appoint an executive sponsor. This should be someone in a senior leadership position who is going to act as the voice to the greater organization and also to the senior leadership team. Why this works. So roughly 90% of Fortune 500 companies boast some sort of employee resource group. They might go by different names, colleague resource group, affinity groups, but they all work to really raise the awareness and lift the voices of the most marginalized in those organizations. A 2017 Fair Boss surveyed 400 women who were part of a affinity group, a women's affinity group, or ERG, and they found that they had an increased sense of belonging. Nearly 85% of those respondents benefited some way in their career by being part of an employee resource group. And lastly, in a survey conducted by Gen Z networking platform Tallo, 70% of those surveyed said they were more likely to join an organization if they offered or already had established employee resource groups. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you learned a lot about employee resource groups, and thank you so much.